Today on the podcast, you will hear my interview with Devony Smith and Danny Zelibor, whose new collaborative album, In This Short Life, is out now. I just love how real this duo is. I think in so many ways, hearing stories of collaboration are really like hearing stories of a romantic relationship. Oh, how'd you meet? When did you propose? What is this? And these artists are not a couple, but the way they talk about their work together is fascinating. It's so personal, it's so human, and I always have such admiration for people who can make the things happen that they want to make happen. So please enjoy this lovely interview with Devony Smith and Danny Zelibor. Devony Smith and Danny Zelibor, welcome to Crushing Classical.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I am really looking forward to this conversation, to talking about your new album, In This Short Life, and about the process that got it made and all of the new music that is represented on it. Before we launch into that, will one of you actually just sort of introduce yourselves to the listeners and tell a little bit of the story that brings us to like where we are?
Yeah.
As a singer, I'll let you start.
I'll go first, I guess. Well, Danny and I'm a mezzo-soprano. Danny is a pianist. And we met as young musicians in New York right out of school and met as friends actually with a friend at a party that we were at on the Upper West Side, and like just knew each other sort of through mutual colleagues and friends for years. And then in 2019, we got hired for a gig with New York Festival of Song together, and did this like sort of wild program that was amazing with them that bonded us for forever. So now we're
eternity.
So we are now a duo that works a lot together. And I think both individually and together, Danny and I are drawn to premiering and working directly with composers on new works, and have a lot of relationships with the composers that we work with and friendships with them. And that is something that brings us a ton of joy. And I think we both do it well. The development of new works is a thing in and of itself, I think, as a performer, not just for the composers. So we sort of have that thing in common, and now we get to do that together, sort of premiere and develop new works. So that is what sort of brings us into the same space. But we also sing and play everything together. We love all sorts of concert work and do a lot of it throughout the year.
Yeah, it's I'll piggyback off that real quick. I was thinking about this because it was now so long ago that we actually sort of met in that apartment. That apartment is one of my best friend's places. It like overlooks the George Washington Bridge, and he has this beautiful Steinway in there. And so it's sort of this like touchstone for me. And he would have these parties where we would just drink and play and sing. And I was sort of new to New York, new to collaborative music making. And I was actually intimidated by Devony because she's just so like vivacious and incredible when she would open her mouth at these gatherings. And so I just had this sort of like from a distance talent crush on her for the longest time. And so it's hilarious to think back on that, where we've now landed, where we know everything about each other, good, bad, and ugly.
I love that, actually, the way that story unfolds. It sounds like a rom-com in the making, right? It sounds like the development of a romantic relationship, which my understanding is it's not. That's not what we're talking about. But I think for a lot of musicians, actually, people get shy at parties. I talk to people all the time and they're like, well, but I can't get work that way because I'm so introverted. I'm so shy. Like I don't really like meet people well at parties. And yet you're telling a story here where like it was uncomfortable at first and it was a little weird, but it was a social interaction that developed later into like a real serious collaboration that has brought you to
Right.
like a number of performances and many new works created and now this new album. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was it planted a great seed, and then, just as these things happen, just sort of serendipitously, we not long after that NIFOS concert that she talked about, we were asked to do a concert at Caramore Center for the Arts, and this is sort of one of the seminal moments for us in which we go to do these afternoon Christmas concerts, and we had crafted this like these beautiful programs that were, a little bit of trashy Christmas music, a little bit of highbrow stuff. It was going to be a couple of great afternoons, and she woke up with laryngitis, like could not phonate at all.
between
So
between the concerts. Like we had given one concert where I was like, I don't feel so good, but I'm still okay. And then I woke up the next morning like nothing, and like not in enough time to call a sub or to fix anything.
so it became this concert of like Devony's 4-note range and like the Danny Christmas variety show, and their reactions, their stares were just blank and confused. So that was how well it went. But that sort of experience, we were like forged in the fires of that day, and we haven't really looked back since.
I mean, that is also amazing and so relatable, right? This is live music. And like, I'm an oboist. I can power through a lot of illnesses, and I have played with like wisdom teeth, like just having come out, and I have played with,
God.
right? Like these are like stories that we all sort of have. But for a singer, that is literally impossible. Like your body is your instrument, and if your body isn't working, you can't work. Um, and like of course that is a it's such a bond, such a bonding experience to have to like fumble through a performance that is impossible
Yeah, it
somehow
was
between the
we
two of you.
it
we
was a
haven't
lot
been
of
asked that.
yeah, we haven't been asked. I don't know. It was a lot of me looking at Danny and being like, now Danny will improvise this Christmas carol. Which he did so
Oh,
well.
I'm not sure, but we had fun
And
relatively.
like clearly like you're both looking back on it with a fondness, even though in the moment I can only imagine that that was like disastrous feeling and like
Terrible.
career ending is
It
the
felt
way it might have felt as it was going on.
it did feel that way for sure, but we have continued. Here we
But
are.
here we are. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. So, subsequent to this like Christmas concert from hell, which in my own opinion, a lot of Christmas concerts are inherently from hell, even when your voice is together.
True.
Um, what did this journey look like as you began to like develop your chops for contemporary music and for working with composers? Is this something that you always knew you were going to be working on? Is this something that like sort of fell into your lap and then you ran with it? What was the what was the story of that?
Yeah, I would say for me, it sort of became clear early on in my musical studies that I had the chops for it. And then I sort of had to decide if I liked it. I didn't know. I didn't even know what it was, developing
Hmm.
new works. I grew up as a pianist and have a lot of musicians in my family. And I think the way that I learn music is sort of mathematic, and like more logic and math than most singers sort of when looking at a score. Like I mark up my score with like duples and triples and highlight, I'm like very systematic about the way that I learn music. And I think that comes from learning in sort of a piano frame as a kid, and like being able to read music in that way. I then my junior year of college, my university did Mark Adamo's Little Women, and that was the first piece of sort of contemporary music that I had done. And Mark came out to work with us for, I think, like a week leading up to the production. And he is one of the composers on our album, actually. So that story comes very full circle. But the impact of working with him one-on-one that week was sort of life-changing for me. I had learned, as I had started learning the opera, I was like, okay, I'm good at this. I'm good at taking this complicated thing on the page and internalizing it and interpreting it, and also keeping still what's on the page. And I like this process, and it's like firing in all these parts of my brain. And then Mark showed up, and he writes quite complicated music sometimes. But he is a man of like drama and theater, and his presence sort of infused that into this music that I had worked so hard to learn. And he's super enthusiastic. And so that was the start for me of realizing, whoa, I could really do this. And then to sort of hop forward, I had applied to several grad schools after my undergrad, and the school that I really wanted to go to was Bard College's master's program, which at the time was led by Dawn Upshaw, who is known for her interpretation of new music. So that sort of solidified, I think, my path and my like desire to continue in this vein. And I absolutely love it. I love the relational connection that you have with a creator right in front of you. And I love being the vessel for interpretation of something new. Sometimes composers will write something and it fits perfectly and there's nothing to change. And other times you as a performer are bringing things to the composer that they did not write. And when you're having that experience with a wonderful collaborator, that is extremely exciting.
Yes, because like you don't get to argue with Rossini or with no matter how difficult the aria is or how inconveniently it lies for your voice. There's no back and forth with a composer who is already dead. You can bring your interpretation, but you can't change the piece. And like I was really struck by the phrase that you used about developing new works, because I don't know that I've thought of it that way, as being so collaborative with the composer in addition to like our normal collaboration with our fellow musicians and with the audience.
Yes. I think, sorry, go ahead, Danny.
No, but I like that you brought that up because, we have this idea that when a composer plops something down in front of us, that it is, like the ink is dry, this is what it is. But I would say every great composer that we worked with realizes that this, as we do, that this stuff is malleable. It's like an ever-changing thing. And once you put a work in fingers or in a throat, it might not be exactly as you imagined it when they were writing it. And so every great person we worked with has taken feedback, and we've been able, and so these things are in process, in motion, even if it is printed at that point. And that is so exciting. Like it feels like you're still building, like you're building a house from the ground up instead of going in and renovating something that's been standing for a century. And I think for me personally, that is what is so fun, the relational aspect of it. And getting to sort of like one sort of little thing that I always come back to is I'm still arguing with a friend of mine, Matthew Ricketts, who wrote this beautiful song cycle, and he rescored it it was originally piano and voice, and now it's piano, voice, and string quintet. And I have been arguing with him for years that this one song needed to remain just piano. Mm-hmm. And he disagrees with me, and we will disagree till the day we die. But I love that that aspect of it, just that it's still living.
That's amazing. And like speaking with the both of you, it feels very striking to me that it sounds as though the two of you are like equal collaborators. Like there's a three-part structure to the collaboration: the composer and the mezzo-soprano and the pianist. And like I find that almost surprising. I know that and like, please tell me that I'm the dummy here. I find that in my experience working with collaborative pianists, like we always say collaborative piano, and in the rehearsal process, I'm super aware of how much value that pianist is bringing to like how we are playing it together. But in those experiences, for me, it's still always a project that I have created. Like, we're going to do my recital. I have hired a collaborative pianist. They're going to make me better, and we're going to have a great experience. But like, it's my project, is the way that feels. And that's not the way I'm feeling talking to you two. Will you talk about that?
Yeah. You want to,
Yeah,
you start.
I yeah, I that is kind of one of the beautiful things about Danny and my collaboration, I think. Danny's a phenomenal pianist, and I know he thinks highly of my singing, but I do not feel comfortable, or I guess comfortable is not the word. I definitely feel like when one of us is weak, we are both weak, like, and we work as a unit. I don't know if that's a byproduct of how much we've worked together, um, or if that's just the way that Danny and I work. But we definitely, it is a 50-50 carry when we're performing together.
And yeah, it isn't because I wrestle with this, not personally, but I do sort of wonder like what people on the outside think, because like to your point, it is typically like this is my work and the pianist is very integral to the whole thing, but there's like that separation. And I don't know how, if it was sort of like our personal relationship, like as like dearest friends, that has informed the whole thing. I'm not sure how it started, but there's like a comfort in our relationship such that I don't think we feel weird um changing the normal narrative. Like, I'm fully aware that, when people go to a vocal recital, there's a large portion of the audience that is listening just to the voice, and I'm like the carpet that we're all hanging out on. Like, um uh but I don't know, we have so much fun working together, and we both, like, on stage and behind the scenes, bring so many different things to whatever this is, that it has become just like a 50-50 duo.
It's amazing. It's really great to hear. Thank you so much for talking about that. Can we talk about the album, and can we talk about some of the composer collaborations that have like come into this? Like, who would like to start and tell us something?
Oh, let's see. I mean, the idea for this is almost, God, 4 years old, and it was inspired by a couple bottles of wine. And we had just kind of finished separately, sort of, um, our seasons, and she had just done a piece by Jennifer Higdon, and I had just done a big piece by Mark Adamo. Both are scored for mezzo, cello, and piano. And so we were sitting there and we were like, "Oh wow, that's cool." And somehow, walking on the Upper West Side, we started having a conversation about American sound in art song, because we were wine drinking nerds, and I wish I could remember what she said, but she said something very profound about just, and I think we'll touch on this more later, but just how we are currently defining the American sound, especially within art song. Um, and it was kind of in that moment we were like, oh, well, maybe this could be the starting point of an album. And so that was sort of that was the seed that we planted And so Mark Adamo and Jennifer Higdon are kind of the the pillars of the idea originally.
Amazing. And the pieces that you had that sparked this idea, are those the pieces that are those the pieces that are on this album?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
The Jennifer Higdon piece I had just done premiered, and it was honestly such a striking, wonderful experience because I got to premiere them with Jennifer there coaching through, and she's just incredible. And her wife was also there, who informs so much. Cheryl informs so much of Jennifer's texts and the subject matter that Jennifer writes about when she's writing for voice. And so Jennifer had written these two folky sort of songs that were very contrasting about her childhood in the Smoky Mountains and sort of the beauty and the sorrow of that location. And I was just totally like drawn into the set and wanted a chance to perform them again, but they're really, one of those two songs is extremely hard for the piano particularly. So I was like, who's going to program this and who's going to do this with me? So that's sort of where all of this started. And then when Danny said he had just done this piano cello mezzo piece by Mark Adamo, I was like, perfect. I love Mark Adamo. And at this point, Mark and I had not worked together since that experience I mentioned my junior year of college. But I was like, what if Mark would work with us on this? Because that piece had never been studio recorded. So we went sort of on the hunt for pieces by composers that fired us up, that had not been recorded in the studio. And we found so much music that really lit us up. I think one of the things that we didn't want to do is record things that we didn't feel really intensely passionate about. And we just wanted to put together an hour of music that like really every single piece meant something extraordinary to us and had never been recorded before.
And the cool thing about that, one of the things I'm most proud of with the album is that it wasn't like we went and Googled like piano, mezzo, cello, and like went searching for people that we didn't know. Like the album itself is like this body. It's a testament to all these actual relationships that we've had with composers. It represents a lot of work that we had already done together as a pair, and so it's made things that much more rewarding because we've been including people that we had already been working with and were familiar with, and emailing incessantly with. I was listening to one of your other episodes and talking about the amount of emailing that leads up to something like this. It is just like Old Testament long, just forever and ever. I mean, and you know, to the point that you feel, I mean, I feel so sorry for how much we have had to pester our poor friends, but it's made it so fun. And it continues to be because there's still so much happening with this album. And so for it to be people that we didn't just pick out of the ether feels quite satisfying.
Yeah, like there's so much. I think people underestimate how much the music world is built on relationships and on like, and the fact that you like, y'all do not appear to be old people, but like in the years that you've been working together, you've worked with so many different composers and you have created so many relationships that when it came time to bring this album together, like you already had the people. You weren't reaching out freshly to some, I mean, maybe you were, I don't know, but what I'm hearing you describe is that this project was created from your body of work and your body of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good point because I think the nature of what we do, we're always thinking about networking, and it's important and it's necessary, and it's such a loaded word. But I think we slowly started realizing that what we needed to do was sort of like settle and um and what am I trying to say here? Just sort of relax in what we've already done and rely on genuine, um, honest relationships that happen organically just by nature of what, our business. And so it made things feel a little less frantic.
Yes.
Just sort of settling in what already is. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Right, because as you're working to develop these pieces for for a studio recording project, you're working with personalities that you've interacted with before,
Yes.
and yeah, makes so much sense.
I also I wanted to mention too, the composers that we have on the album, some were composers that were heroes to work with, like Jennifer and Mark, David Lang, and all of them we love and are incredible. And some I felt like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing Jennifer Higdon's piece, or I can't believe. And there are a couple composers on the album too that I feel that who are equally incredible, but who I feel like I have grown with as a young musician. So I had started, Jake Landau as an example of that. He's actually a student of John Corigliano, who is Mark Adamo's husband. But I had met Jake sort of organically doing like the workshop of his first ever opera. And I just fell in love with his music. And he's a composer that I feel like we have been in development together of his things. So when it came time to do this album and we had the sort of pillar pieces of the album, I sat Jake down and was like, do you want to write the commission for this album, like, and what are your ideas, and this is what we're looking at. So Jake, being one of the younger composers on the album that I have grown alongside, wrote one of the two commissions for the album, and they're just two of my absolute favorite pieces on the record. They're written for piano, voice, and drone. So just any two notes that are droned through the entire piece, and they're just such phenomenal pieces. Another young composer on the album is Benjamin Wenzelberg, who wrote the final piece, and it ended up being the piece that carried the album title for us. And I met him alongside Jennifer in Philadelphia, and Jennifer had sort of mentored Benji. So there's like these like mentor-mentee relationships on the album that are really cool, that I personally am like so excited that we have that represented. And we have these younger composers that maybe not as many people know, but are just so incredible and talented. And all that is exciting. All of that is born out of relationship and, genuine collaboration. And that excites me.
That excites me too. We talk about like, oh, we're playing this piece. It's an early Mozart piece. It's a late Mozart piece. But you don't think about the performers who were growing up alongside Mozart.
Yes.
Great point.
Yeah, that was so true.
I loved hearing Devony say that. That was great.
Yeah.
Can we? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to just change tack a little bit and ask about like creating an album project and creating a whole bunch of new commissions, or any number of new commissions. It can be expensive. Can I ask about the creation of this project, and like, as much as you are comfortable telling us, how did the money work?
I mean, as any of us know, it's a slog.
Mm-hmm.
We were lucky to have a lot of people. It felt very grassroots, a large portion of it. We had a lot of people that were in any variety of donation amount, that were very giving with their money to help us out. We reached out specifically to a few people to sort of be, like seed donors. And I would say probably one of the best lessons I've learned from this. Of course, none of us are um, strangers to the art of asking for money, and it is an art, right? And it's a difficult one. It's so deeply awkward. I hate dealing with it. And I had sort of our main donor that helped us. I sent sort of this. I was very apologetic about it, and I would say very millennial about the way that I approached the whole thing. And he was very giving and very lovely, but he then talked to me after the fact, and he said, his line of work, he had also had to ask for vast sums of money. And he said, I had an incredibly wealthy man that was the main patron I had to talk with. And he sat me down one day and said, stop apologizing. Stop giving me all these explanations. Tell me what you need. I know it's coming from an honest place. Tell me what you need. If I can do it, I will do it. If I can't, I will tell you. And it was so freeing to hear that. It's just such a scary leap to make, but that was I personally in this whole endeavor needed to hear that advice specifically, for sure.
Yeah, that's a really lovely way to frame that. I think when we are crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, like really looking for sponsorship and looking for patronage and looking for support to create something, you said it really well, that it feels so humbling and so awkward and so like, how dare I ask this person for something? And to hear his perspective on it, which is like, I understand that I am the one with the money. People ask me for this all the time. Like, just be clear, just express what you need. And like, of course it's going to come from a place of humility, but there's also, I'm not sure I'm not sure what words I want to put on it here, but something about like being clear about what you want and why you want it, and what it could mean for the future of music, for the future of your duo, for like what it could mean for this person. Like, there's a way to frame it without it having to feel so cringy and grovelly.
Right, right,
Yes.
Right. And I think excitement is that's been another lesson, I think, for both of us is, well, maybe more so me, but like I tend to be an apologetic and self-effacing, and that just that gets you nowhere. And my gran, who's a pastry chef by trade, she always says, no matter what has ended up on the plate, no matter how bad you've done in the kitchen, when you take it to the table, you set it down and you say, you're going to love this. And and you set the tone. And I think whether you're asking for money to fund things or whether you're standing on stage introducing a piece, I think it is just the best. You're going to love this. and take that kind of energy into it.
That's beautiful. We also know as performers that no matter how disastrous it felt to us in the middle of the piece, when you get to the end, you smile and you bow and you say thank you when someone like compliments you. And it comes from the same energy. Like, I don't think we have to be ashamed of having given our life to this art form. And because of the choices we have made, like, we're in many cases not in the position to independently fund our projects, but perhaps our patrons are not in the position to independently create a CD of art songs.
Right. So
with their own voice and talents.
Way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is lovely. Lovely. You two, I feel like I could talk about this all day and I like literally cannot. Is there Is there something else that you would like to share here that I have not made space for in this conversation?
I feel like you should mention Anne
I
Spencer.
was just I'll make a quick little blurb here, but one of the parts of the album we're most excited about is the other commissions beside Jake's were with Will Liverman, who, of course, incredible baritone that we all know, but he's also gaining this incredible voice in the composition world. He has 2 albums out of his own works using the poetry of Paul Dunbar and his wife, whose name is escaping me, Alice Dunbar Moore. And he comes from a history of playing piano in church, as do I, as does Devony. And so we sort of come from this similar musical heritage, which is really exciting for us. And we reached out to him to see if he'd like to set the poetry of Anne Spencer, who is from Virginia, as is Will. And Anne Spencer is this incredible writer of the Harlem Renaissance, but and does not get the light shed on her that she probably deserves. Is one of the sort of slightly lesser known voices. And so we picked, there's the Anne Spencer House and Garden Museum in Lynchburg, which is her home. It's 95% preserved. So it's one of the most intact house museums in the nation. And it's the only known restored garden of any African American. And so it's this incredibly beautiful, exciting place. It's stewarded by Anne Spencer's granddaughter. And so we started working with Sean Spencer and figuring out how to get and which poems of Anne Spencer's to set to song. And we picked these 2 that really speak to Anne's relationship with the natural world, with her garden. It was the center of her world. And it also became a center for, the Harlem Renaissance movement. MLK was there. WD, who else? Help me out. Marian Anderson passed through there. So just all these African-American luminaries would meet there. And so it's this very, very special place. And so to work with her granddaughter and have her granddaughter's stamp of approval, saying that my grandmother would have loved this project and because she loved classical music. So it's the first time that her poetry has been set to song and recorded. And that feels quite cool, very humbling. I would encourage any of your listeners to go read her poems because they're very stunning. Intricate yet simple.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Incredible.
Beautiful. And what an honor to get to be like partly responsible for that setting, for the creation of this new art form from her original work.
Yes.
And it has to be said, Will's music is just incredible. So worth a listen.
Wonderful. I mean, this is fantastic. I want to thank you so much for talking with me today.
Of course.
I'll put your website links in the show notes. Is there anywhere else you would like to send people to follow you? Or where do they listen to the album?
Yeah, you can listen to the album on any streaming platform, or it's also on YouTube. In This Short Life is the name of the album. And
it'll pop up.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.